time for Moto Hop on Air.
Welcome to episode 11.
Episode 11? Oh, thank heaven.
Oh, they're getting corny.
There's not very many things that rhyme with 11. I just Googled it.
Okay. Well, we're recording on November 1st, 2023, right on time at 11 p.m.
It's going to be our last late night one, right?
We'll see.
I'm a member of the working class now.
You are.
I won't have this energy fluctuation. I'll need to be on a schedule like an adult.
Well, I guess first, I'm your host, Matt, and with me is your other host,
Missy.
That was ripped almost exactly word for word from how NOCO does theirs, but they have cool names like MotoGP and Swiggy. So we need to come up with cool names or a better way to introduce ourselves.
I'll work on that.
Okay.
You can be Moto Hop, but you've wanted to stray from it being your identity, which I think is silly.
Whatever.
I think you could be Moto Hop, and
Sure.
I could be Ms. Moto Hop.
That's fine. But I still like to know I have a real name.
Flat Top Moto Hop?
Yeah, there we go. Woke up this morning here in beautiful, overcast, cold Akron, Ohio with
Snowy.
snow on the ground.
It's true. First time.
Yeah. How excited are you for the first snow of the year?
I'm pretty sure it only happened because I raked leaves into a pile and didn't pick them up. In fact, yesterday I was like, I bet you if I do this, it's going to snow. I don't look at the weather anymore because the weather app has been so jacked since like Apple bought it or the last couple months. I don't know. There was an update and it's just like completely useless. And it happened. But I can remember like growing up when we were trick-or-treating, like it would snow fairly regularly. So I'm not like shooketh.
Yeah.
It's going to be back up in like the 50s, 60s this week. So
No, I think part of my brain just is like, even though this happens every year, we always get a little snow somewhere between October and November. My brain's like, Christmas is winter, thus no snow till, middle, end of December.
no, it's like usually rainy and 60 on Christmas.
I know.
It's great. I love it.
And then cold, snowy.
From
January,
January
February.
till April, May, June,
Yeah.
May. I mean, through
So
Easter.
Well,
Through
I was
Easter,
gonna
and then it rains for a month and a half, and we're different type of sad.
Yeah.
This
is the beginning for some people, especially those who don't want to ride once they start throwing road salt here in Ohio, of PMS. Parked motorcycle syndrome.
Oh, you better get some Sammy. Yikes. Or maybe is that why you were moody the other day?
Yeah, Sportster's still on the lift. Finally got the timing set. That was an adventure.
Is that what you've been doing out there?
No, today I have been working on a bracket to relocate the ignition coil.
That means nothing to me, but
That's okay.
I'm proud of you for sticking to your hobbies because your hobbies exhaust me.
The ignition coil is the part that generates the high voltage electricity that is delivered to the spark plug to spark.
I think you were telling me about the other day. I think I
Well,
may have
you
zoned
walked
for
out
a
while
second.
I was being frustrated, not understanding why I couldn't get the timing module to line up correctly so I could adjust the static timing. It just did not want to cooperate for some reason. And you walked out while I was rather frustrated with the bike, but all is good now.
Well, I had a homemade Pop-Tart.
You did. It helped.
A little bit of sugar. Never hurt anyone. Don't let keto people tell you otherwise.
Speaking of sugar,
Yeah?
what's in your cup?
Not that much sugar,
Yeah,
actually.
that's pretty normal for you.
It is. I try to pretend to be healthy, and then when no one's looking, I stuff my face full of donuts,
No, don't let her lie
ice
to you.
cream.
She somehow survives on like half the amount of sugar a normal human requires.
It's true. I have, it's a fever tree, like a ginger fever tree, which is like supposed to be like tonic water, mix it with alcohol. Not me. Cranberry juice and a little splash of lime.
No emergency?
No, I had that earlier today
Oh,
with
okay.
my ginger tea when I made you yours.
Yeah.
I like to have that earlier in the day. There's a lot of B vitamins in there, which I've been pretty good about sleeping through it, but I've had some sleepless nights after taking emergency. So just sensitivity to that.
I don't have that problem.
Yeah, you can sleep anywhere, anytime. It's a
much.
gift, really.
It is.
And what are you drinking?
What did we figure this was called?
Dark and Stormy.
Yeah, Dark and Stormy. Some spiced rum, specifically Sailor Jerry, with some ginger beer, a little splash of some lime juice. It was between this and a hot toddy, and I felt like a cold drink.
Ginger beer is the underappreciated drink. Now, not all of them, because ginger is so spicy, it generally takes a crap ton of sugar in order to make like ginger ale or like real ginger beer. But these ginger tonic waters are like where it's at. It's like the perfect amount of flavor and sweetness because there is sugar in it. I don't do sugar free, not regularly anyways. So highly recommend. They're a little expensive for a drink, but I think totally worth it as like an afternoon pick-me-up.
I just appreciated the fact that I had you take a sip and you're like, oh, this isn't bad.
Well, I also was like at the tail end of a hard candy.
Sure. But I think your anti-rum stance from last week is just because you haven't had any of the plethora of rum drinks.
It's possible. Yeah. I've never been in a situation where I needed to try that many drinks, you know? I mean, we go out like once a year and have a drink, so
yeah.
I mean, if we don't have it in the house, I'm not gonna go out and risk like a $15 drink on something I assume I don't love.
Fair. Fair.
Give me a martini.
Yes.
So what else is going
November
on?
1st, Motocompacto is available.
And you woke up just thinking it was Christmas, right? Like you were waiting for one to be under the tree?
Yeah, I was expecting a small, truck full of them to pull up and deliver like 20, hopefully. But
is that why you got up and made coffee? Because you thought I'd exchange it for a Motocompacto?
Yeah, that was the underlying hope.
It's a rare day when you get up before me, so you must have been expecting something special.
No. No, not in actuality.
Yeah. But. Well, are they even like... Has anyone... I guess I haven't checked Instagram. We should check Instagram with the hashtag to see...
If real people have them yet?
Yeah, everywhere I've seen it just still says like pre-order, delivery, like you'll get them in November, you'll get them in December. And it's like, okay, well, I was kind of under the impression they'd be like in boxes at stores.
They might
order them online for curbside
over...
pickup. But I like Googled Motocompacto and I even looked on the website of the Honda dealer closest to us and there's like nothing. I mean,
no, but if you go to the Motocompacto website, you can then like click a buy link and then it has you choose your local dealer. And you can either pick it up at your dealer or you can have it shipped directly to you. I don't know what
through
dealers...
like DoorDash or like...
No, they just... Because they literally sell it through the website. They sell like Honda car like accessories and parts. Like if you had went out and bought a new CRV and wanted, like the official Honda floor mats, you'd go to their dream shop. I think that's what they call it. Like the Honda accessory and parts website. And that's where the Motocompacto is for sale.
So I will say, I'm on the Motocompacto. It's like the handle Motocompacto, which I don't know. It's not verified. I don't know who actually owns that, but no one's tagged them in and post yet on Instagram.
Oh.
So I guess maybe I'll have to check like the Honda page.
Well, you should probably just check the hashtag. Because if someone bought one, they probably would have hashtagged it Motocompacto. But yeah, not aware if local dealer has them yet. Bunch of press outlets apparently were invited to try them out. So you can see everyone across the board who has gotten to try one. Most of them non-motorcycle outlets from what I've seen. Like CNET had a video on it.
So there's 400... Oh, that was 2 weeks ago. I don't know. There's 408... images that show up under that, but
you can't do recent anymore. You can do like
sort of
top recents or whatever.
Everything that it's showing though is like press.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a couple of them that are actually outside, but they look like they're at car shows. One of them's from 2 weeks ago, so you know that like these are like privileged viewers. They aren't like civilians.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't necessarily expecting a blistering fast rollout, but.
No, but also
we'll see them pop up over the next week, I'm sure.
Kind of risky with a new product not to stick to your word.
Of what?
I don't know, like if you're going to say it's going to be available November 1st, like,
Yeah.
unless they're just saying
It's like
November.
the iPhone goes available on one day and it gets delivered a week later. It's available to purchase.
Well, it does
Right.
kind of look like an Apple product, so right on par.
Yeah. So you watched part of one of the press first ride videos that I was watching. And what did you think of it, watching people ride it?
They look ridiculous.
Wonderfully ridiculous.
And then I like lost myself on a Reddit. I don't know. It was just someone who's like, "What are your thoughts?" And someone said, "It's probably not safe, but I'd whip around the city on a Nintendo Wii." There was another good one. Let me find it. A lot of people are having like serious conversations, which is not entertaining. Oh man, I wish you could highlight things in a browser. But someone said it was like the number one killer of ACLs in adults.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, it's fun. It's fun to have new things, but those sketchy little wheels.
Yeah. The thing that's surprised me so far is you were looking to see where you could find them, and you found one listed on a website that, at least on the surface, appears to be legit, and they had it listed for $800 and some dollars.
$885 or something.
$885. So already below MSRP. On the other end of the spectrum, I found one eBay listing that was selling them for 10,000 and some change, or sorry, not 10,000, 1,000 and some change, like a little under $1,100 plus shipping as a pre-sale. And apparently it had already sold 2 of them. And it said there were 3 more available. So at least 2 people were excited enough that they bought overpriced pre-sale units through eBay. That they probably
may or may not be scammed.
Yep.
Good luck out there.
Well, at least you have eBay and stack PayPal on it. You should be able to get your money back from someone if Motocompacto doesn't show up at your door.
My sticker is mostly done too. I probably should have printed that by now.
Well, hindsight.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really feel like too big of regrets. It'll be a cool thing to have, but I was surprised when I was looking around on Google. I was like, oh, I guess everything I keep seeing is like a 3-lined little icon thing.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people that are selling Motocompacto shirts and stuff. And it appears it's on the Honda website. So I guess that is the little graphic they're going with. But it does not look like it's cute as a favicon, not cute as a giant graphic on a t-shirt.
I'm trying to find the one you're talking about.
If you're on motocompacto.honda.com, it's in the top left. It's, like I said, just a very simple line icon, little tiny circle on the end. I mean, it looks like something I do in art school.
It's
not
just
the best way.
Super duper simplified silhouette of it.
Yeah, which, like I said, is fine for a little icon. But the shirts I saw, I don't think they were being sold by Honda. Basically had that on them being blown up. I was like, oh, that's so tacky.
Yeah.
Not that I know anything about fashion, though, so feel free to take that for what it's worth. But, ugh.
Well, I don't know. We may end up with one. We'll see.
Feel like, it's a proper time to launch it. For $1,000 around Christmas time, you don't need the deepest pockets in order to pull it off.
No, especially if someone's selling them for $880. That's an even better deal.
Yeah, if they're not going to go on sale now, they're probably, I guess people could look back around in January, February, because if there's surplus inventory, or if they don't get them out before Christmas, they're going to be in a dark place. But
yeah, I don't think that's an issue right now.
Well, it's just hard to know. You got nothing. So
I was telling you earlier, my viewpoint has changed on this slightly. After really thinking about it, I have this weird gut feeling that this is going to kind of flop. Yeah. It's going to kind of flop only because unless you go somewhere and can ride this thing and it's just an absolute hoot and you love it, you love the form factor. If you're just spreadsheet comparison, against a typical e-bike, in the sub, $1,000 range, you're going to have at least 500 watt motor instead of, I think it was, Motocompacto was 490. But you're probably going to get into a 750, maybe 1,000 watt in that $1,000-ish range. at least in the US, I think the average US consumer is like, why would I buy something with 490 or 500 watts when I could get 1,000 watts and do 30 miles an hour on a vehicle that's not designed to do 30 miles an hour?
That'd be like going 30 miles an hour on a tricycle.
A tricycle would probably be safer.
But it's got the same type of wheels.
Yeah. I mean, it's just...
The back wheels,
It's like the Lime scooters. Like, they go faster than they should for the design. And for the fact that you're renting them, people rent them like when they're just out and about the city. It's not like they have safety gear with them.
Yeah, and they get really hurt. I think there was like I want to say Charlie Sheen. There was someone like famous that like broke their back.
Yeah.
I don't remember who it was, but careful there. Not that a helmet would even necessarily save you from all injuries. It at least gives you kind of a threat of like, this could be serious.
Yeah.
Wouldn't want to rent a helmet though. Ugh.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't rent a helmet either.
What we've established is things happen when you scroll on that website.
Yep.
Very limited target market for these. And as a secondary rider rating, I'm going to give it like a 0 out of 10.
Well, because there's absolutely no passenger seat. I still love the fact that they're basically a rolling billboard. I hope someone somewhere utilizes that.
Maybe that needs to be you. Stop expecting other people to do things that you can do better yourself. You just need to get some sort of something on there like they do with like just trucks out here, like not flatbed, like box trucks. Is that the word I'm looking for? And just park them somewhere. You need to get some sort of local election person. We can like...
I was thinking just like put a giant QR code on the side.
Oh, God. Stop. You're being rude. You're teasing me because you know I hate them.
She has a just deep hatred for QR codes.
But honestly, I've used 2 of them in the past month.
I'm very proud of you.
Both of them for wine advent calendars. Because I want to see what kind of wine is in the advent calendar.
Important stuff.
Yeah.
Best communicated through a QR code.
Like groceries.
Yeah.
Back of a cereal box, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think like in a parade, like a local parade, it'd be super fun to do something with this. I really don't know of many other instances. Like, yeah, it's a great surface. Like, it has great potential, but like, who's going to see it? If you park it outside, maybe? But then,
yeah.
I mean, you got to make sure there's a good place on this thing in order to chain it up. I know they probably expect you to take it inside, but like, not everyone can. I mean,
the other thing I've thought about is because it's just a giant flat surface.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you parked it somewhere, like and leaned, I think it has a kickstand, but like it's a giant. It's a giant sail. Like what if it's windy?
Oh yeah,
it's probably gonna blow over.
Yeah, probably. I feel like it should have almost like. I'm trying to think in my head, like, how I would explain it. Like, almost like something flat and then, like, a notch cut out of the top of it that you could, like, set it up on, like, a perpendicular...
Like, beam to stabilize it or something?
Plastic. Like, it looks like something... Let's say, you know those, like, wooden airplanes you get where they have, like, the notches cut out and you, like, piece them together?
Yeah.
It'd be like that. Like, get this chunk of whatever it is... You can maybe 3D print something. Maybe that's what you need to do. And then like do like a notch, but it would almost be like 1 foot wide. And then it would have like a notch cut out of the middle. And you just
for the Motocompacto,
pick it up and set it in.
Yeah. Yeah. Just a perpendicular like beam of some sort.
Yeah. I wouldn't have called it a beam, but yeah, all it needs to be is like...
I'm just saying it could
something
be
only...
a 2x4. It could be whatever.
Yeah. It just needs to hold in place.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
3D print one.
Well, on other first ride videos that are out and about, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this just because its official release is about a week away and we're going to see more next week.
We're going to see more? Talk more? All the things?
Well, yeah, I'm going to talk more about it because we'll have actual official specs and everything.
Is this what you've been watching all these videos on?
I mean,
Himalayan,
I watch a
just
decent amount of Himalayan videos.
So you can have dreams about them at night?
Yeah, but you've already mentioned that you know how long I've been looking at that bike. Here's the funny thing.
Ooh, there's a funny thing.
On my corkboard in my office, I have, from the first time I saw this at one of the shows, the little like sell sheet, like postcard. The MSRP of that bike, the first time I saw it was $47.99.
And did you have your Vulcan then?
Yes.
You did?
Yep.
So you only had the one bike probably then?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
remember all that garage space we had? Rest in peace, garage space.
One day I'm going to sell the bikes and you're going to be so sad.
I'm going to be sad because you're going to be sad.
Yeah, well,
I'm not really going to be sad about the bikes. I'm going to be
keep it
sad that
up.
you're sad.
We'll
What?
see.
Sell something of mine?
No, I'm
I don't
just
have
going to sell my
anything.
bikes and then you'll be
Oh,
like,
stop.
please go buy more.
Leave me alone. You won't leave me alone.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy you one because you won't leave me alone.
But Himalayan 452, they put some journalists on them. The funny thing was in all the videos, they open up with, we're allowed to look at it. We're allowed to show it to you. We're not allowed to talk any technical specs, and we're not allowed to give our opinions on any of it.
Ooh, then what is there to say?
Well, the funny part was like, as more and more of them came out, they started like loopholing more and more of it. They're like, I can't tell you this, but this engine appears to be water cooled because there's definitely a radiator here. Where they're like, I'm not sure what size the tires are, but I think you can tell from this shot. And they bring the camera in and like show you the
Show you a
tire size
ruler.
on the side of it. Yeah. So,
Here it is on the up to my knee.
yeah. So it was funny watching those and seeing people like loophole their way around it. I will find the link if I assume I can find it again. Someone had like a full spec leak on it. At least a claimed full spec leak. I think they mentioned 6 colors. I've also seen 5 different color options mentioned, 3 different trim levels essentially that'll divide up the color options, kind of like the way the Super Meteor is divided up. And there will be the top trim bike, which I forget what they thought that trim level was going to be called, may come equipped with tubeless spoke wheels. If they doesn't come standard, it sounds like it's going to be an accessory available for purchase for any of them. It is throttle by wire. It's got ride modes. We know that now. But yeah, not going to be a dead horse on it. Just wanted to mention it. If you want to look between now and next week, stuff's out there.
It's interesting how, obviously you generally want to be careful, but they want to be sensitive, or they don't want anyone stealing their thunder.
Who?
Royal Enfield.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
It's a 21-inch wheel.
I find it weird that they brought all these people in for like a first look, like a week before the official launch. And they're like, you can look at it. Can't say anything about it. Not allowed to give your opinion on it.
Just take pictures and share pictures?
Well, yeah, but they're also making videos.
Yeah, I'm watching a
That was
video
just
now.
What was weird
I
to
don't really
me.
know what the video means. Like, I don't see it. It looks like they're probably saying more than they should in this.
They said the longer it's been, because they started coming out yesterday, day before, and like each new one I see pop up, they're taking more and more leniency with the rules they were given.
They're just trying to see what they can get away with, maybe.
Yeah, well,
They
someone's
see
going to
other
get
people.
slapped on the wrist and not get invited to the next Royal Enfield launch.
Hopefully it's worth it. Hopefully you get them clicks the first time.
Yeah.
Or you're booted.
Honda's CR electric motocross bike made its racing debut. We mentioned, I don't know, a week or two ago that they were going to take it to the All Japan Motocross Championship.
What's CR? Do I know this?
It's just the model.
Oh.
So like Honda had a line of motocross bikes that were CR. So like CR250, CR500.
Okay.
So they're just calling this the CR.
Cool.
I believe Trey Kennard, I believe is the pronunciation of his last name, did pretty decent. Set the second fastest time in the opening practice and qualified 5th overall. Finished second in second in the first of the 3 motos. He, I believe, crashed out of the other 2. And then he did take the whole shot in 2 of the 3 races. So decent results. They said this was prototype. They were just kind of looking for, data points. So I don't know.
Yep.
A decent first showing for them, being at least the first electric motocross bike they're admitting to have and wanting to show off to the public.
Yep. It seems to be the trend right now.
Yeah, we're definitely at an inflection point that one, more and more companies are getting into motocross, but also there's more and more electric motocross bikes as well.
It's going to be so quiet on those courses when everyone's electric.
There's always going to be that one dude in the back with a two-stroke with like no silencer, stinger on it, just whap.
Keeping it real, not at his roots.
Yeah. He's just over there like, I'm trying to keep property values down.
Get a little bit of race, keep a little bit of race fuel in your system.
Yeah. Let's see. Sturgis, they had their post-Sturgis Rally Summit, announced some of the attendance
some
numbers.
of this information was interesting, and I do really wonder how they got it. It sounds like they're taking like cell phone data somehow.
Yeah, so that's one of the notes I made here.
Do you have to sign a release form to allow them to do that?
No, so this gets into, let me back up a little bit. I want to share a few numbers before we get into how the information was collected. So during the 10-day rally, there were 617,000 visits.
And that means like people going in and out, maybe repeat people. I'm assuming like total.
Yeah, they don't really
entering.
Define that specifically, but the funny part I thought was he said it was second only to the 75th rally in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
But then they mentioned previous years, and 2021 had 700,000 visits. So if this year was behind 2015,
mm-hmm.
it also has to be behind 2021. Because 2021 was almost 100,000 more visits.
Remember that was the COVID year?
Whoops.
That, like everyone got sick?
Yeah.
I think we were watching it and then afterwards.
Well, 2020, everyone got sick too.
Well, yeah, but they didn't know.
Yeah. No, they knew in 2020.
What month is it? Oh, it's like July or August.
Yeah.
They had a 2020?
Yeah.
Those rascals.
Yeah. So the numbers are different this year though, because they collected the data differently. In the past, they relied on Department of Transportation vehicle counters.
Like vehicle counters? What does that even mean?
You ever seen like the black strips they'll put across, like two of them?
No.
They're either typically like air switches when you drive across it.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And they count cars that way.
Yeah, we don't know how many people are in the car.
And that's where the hiccup has been.
So technically this data has, if they've changed how they're gathering the data, all previous years are irrelevant to this comparison.
Yeah, well, because they were estimating in the previous years. Because, yeah, car goes across the counter. Cool. Is there 1, 4, 10 people in this vehicle? Yeah, right? Bike goes across the counter. Somewhere between 1 and 2 typically.
Which is like 100% room for error, like, or 50%, however you want to gauge that.
Yeah. So I'm sure they did something to like average out. Maybe actual visual spotters trying to figure out on average how many people were on each mode of transportation that went across the counter. But this year they switched to using, they say, our new system collects data from individual users' cell phone.
Which means what? Like they have like demographics on here of like ages. So unless they like asked people when they bought their tickets, ASL.
No, I think they, realistically, what they did was probably bought marketing data.
Oh, you mean like with a list of attendees can backtrack all that stuff through like white pages or something?
You don't even need a list of attendees. So in a previous job, I did a lot of internet advertising. And if we remember, there was kind of a big crackdown and Facebook changed its ad targeting policies. There's still companies out there that'll give you like, I always jokingly refer to it as creepy, like internet marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy levels of data to the point of the one joke, like Target package we put together was we found out on the one platform we were able to target people who purchased specifically Wendy's, not just fast food, but Wendy's, using a MasterCard on Wednesdays with like, whatever frequency interval we wanted.
Yeah.
every Wednesday, every other Wednesday, within a specific geographic area. And like we could target those people with ads.
Sketchy.
Well, and that's why like there's been a big push, Apple, even Chrome, Google starting to do with Chrome with like anti-third-party cookie tracking.
Yeah.
Because basically there's companies on the back end that are piecing all these little bits of data together
They be creeping
into a package and be like, well, we know Missy has, this user account on Facebook, and Facebook has tracked her across these websites. Well, this website knows her as this account who's tied to these websites, right?
All that identity verification goodness.
And then your credit card companies will normally sell certain marketing data about your transactions.
Yeah, they probably know enough about you, like your age, and they know whether you buy or rent or anything in order to give you credit limits.
So I'm assuming this was some combination of marketing data on the cell phone hits, as far as being able to figure out the demographics, and the actual cell phone hits were probably somehow acquired in conjunction with the cell phone companies that operate towers in the area. Going, we want to know how many unique phones connected to these towers within this geo area, right? What I think about most is the average Sturgis attendee will probably never read this. If they did, I feel like the average Sturgis attendee would be probably pretty upset to know that they're being tracked by their cell phone.
Well, I mean, to an extent, we're all probably being tracked enough that, like, if you wanted to get our data, they could.
I'm just saying the average Sturgis demographic visitor would be rather upset about that idea.
Yeah.
Especially with it occurring without their consent.
It's probably nothing that's happening. Yeah.
It's happening all around us every day.
At some point, you've got to, like, admit you exist in a digital world and all of your information, once it's on the internet, is purchasable, or even not on the internet, just belongs to a vendor somewhere.
Yeah.
Did you read the ages? I thought that was interesting. So remember when we talked about that
Thunder in the Valley?
Yeah, and how they're like, everyone's aging out, everyone's too old. So the attendees over 65 decreased, which I guess it doesn't say by how much.
Yeah.
It says to 18%. Originally, I'd processed that it decreased 18%.
Yeah.
That's not true. Decreased to 18%. So people, I guess, maybe calling it quits earlier, or but this is like gloating a like younger audience. Like the younger 25 to 44 rose to 30, almost 30% of the attendees. So,
and 45 to 64 also went from 25 to 29%.
It's a pretty solid increase. 4%.
I thought the most interesting data point to me was the fact that Harley Davidson would be very interested to know that the average income for a Sturgis rally goer is $84,000 a year, with over or about a quarter of attendees with an income between $100,000 and $150,000 a year.
Yeah, I wonder attendees' income. So I guess that would be like the actual person, not combined home income, right?
Yep. With the way they're wording all of this. Yeah. Not a household income, but the average attendee's income.
I don't know what the cost of living like is in South Dakota, but I don't imagine it's too different from the Midwest.
And according to where states attendees came from, South Dakota made up 21% of all of the attendees.
Which kind of surprised. Well, I guess that part doesn't surprise me as much as it went through and like the next two underneath that, Minnesota for 7.5, Colorado 7, Wyoming 4.2, and Iowa 4. It barely adds up to like 40%. So there's like 60% of people that didn't even, I wish I would have been like 20% in the Midwest, 20% was Florida, 20%. Like I wish I would have broke it down to at least regions, if not, obviously they weren't going to do states, but it would have been nice to see some more breakdown about where people were coming from, like a heat map or something,
Yeah. Well, here's what I find interesting. If these numbers are actually accurate, which there was already a hiccup at the beginning of the data.
Yeah.
They're saying 21%, or was it, sorry, Yes, 21% of the attendees are from South Dakota.
Mm-hmm.
There were 617,000 attendees.
Mm-hmm.
That'd mean 129,500 of them were from South Dakota. The
That's a lot of
entire population of that state is 895,376 based on 2021 numbers.
You said 800,000? And
That would mean-
what was your math? 100-something thousand?
129,500.
So like
were attendees.
25% of South Dakota
No,
was...
14.5% of South Dakota's population went to Sturgis.
Wow. Must not be a lot going on out there.
Well, that seems either really high or those numbers are wrong.
So here's another thing that I couldn't figure out.
Mm-hmm.
It says this year's attendees brought $658,581 in sales tax revenue.
Yeah.
Okay. What was the total count? Was it 700,000?
Well, this is just sales tax. I don't know what the sales tax rate is.
So it's just food? Oh,
What?
that's the tax
Just
revenue.
the tax that was collected. Yeah.
Okay.
So actual revenue of
was
like spend.
millions, obviously.
Yeah.
A hefty couple mil.
Yeah.
I did not read that like that in my head. So that sounds better.
Yeah.
Well,
And when you
someone
look
made a
at
good
it,
payday then.
well, and 86% of the 300 chamber businesses said that the rally had an overall positive effect.
86%.
Well, I'd probably agree whenever
14.
they collected almost $700,000 in sales tax revenue.
I want to know what the other 14% were.
Probably, oh, it was okay.
Or they're like just cranky mom and pop shops here, just mad there's traffic.
It was 86% who just said it was positive.
Yeah.
67% said it was extremely positive.
So there's like a cranky, 33%.
Well, no. Yeah, like
Cranky
14%.
A solid 14 that are bitter.
Said it wasn't positive. Yeah.
That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Name some names. Let me at them.
Yeah, we want to know who.
I want to know the demographics of the people that thought it was a negative effect. And it was probably the companies that didn't have the staff to support the people in flux. Because it sounds like staffing is an issue, obviously everywhere right now.
It's a massive influx of people to that town.
Temporary, too. It's well, how do you hire people for 2 weeks?
Well, so at least the bars are pretty good at it because there's literally bartenders that just travel from big rally to big rally.
Oh.
And they have followings.
That's
and
kind of
they
fun.
Just,
Like carnies, kind of.
Yeah,
I had no idea that like traveling bartender was a thing. What a great idea.
Yeah, not just them. Like, you basically like pick up Sturgis, roll it over to, I forget who's after Sturgis, Laconia maybe?
You're like,
and then you pick it up and you roll it down to Daytona at some point.
if you're like a good looking lady, you can probably make some good money.
Yep, they do. They do.
Show a little skin, make a big tip.
Yep.
Missed opportunity there for me, I guess.
Traveling motorcycle rally bartender.
I was so close.
Yeah,
I think
the whole
sat on the back of your bike once.
Yeah, darn close.
That one time I had a drink.
Yeah. The reason I said Harley would be interested in those income numbers is it may be useful to them because they released some numbers for the end of their Q3, and sales are down 15% in North America.
I want to know how much the unemployment rate is up.
Well, year over year, their profit has dropped 24%.
So they're making less money.
Yeah, this quarter, this year over this quarter last year.
That's a lot.
So, well,
they
profits down.
Discontinued the Sportster in 22.
That was the last model year, yeah, for the Evo version.
Yeah, reading the article, I think they credited some of that.
Well, the funny part to me is Jochen Zeitz, I guarantee, is hanging his hat on because his whole thing was reduce models, reduce production. They're all going to be more valuable.
And people are like, but there's so many other options out there.
Yeah, well, turns out, again, we're seeing decline in sales, decline in profit. But the footnote is, yeah, but CVO sales are up 25%.
What's a CVO?
That is their most expensive bikes, custom vehicle operations. So the most expensive Harleys are CVO models. So their most expensive model sales are up 25%, but overall sales are down 15%. And apparently the CVO sales aren't making up for the profit.
Yeah, I was going to say, if those are like the higher priced or higher markup.
Yeah, you're not increasing the sales enough to cover the loss overall.
Oof. Someone's in a panic.
Yeah.
Might be layoffs.
Yeah. Well, probably. And then to top it off.
It's Q3 now.
Yeah.
Or Q4.
Yeah, to top it off, Livewire, they track so Harley, when they report numbers, they split it up. And when they mention Harley motorcycles, it's actual like retail units sold. Mm-hmm. When they talk about Livewires, it's the amount of Livewires shipped to dealers.
So it's inventory out, not necessarily inventory sold.
Yeah. Have you looked at this article yet?
Okay,
if you haven't, don't.
Did.
Oh.
But
I'm going to ask you a number.
Test me anyways.
Okay.
I won't look.
How many bikes do you think they shipped in the third quarter?
Oh, I didn't read that, so you're safe. Like Livewire in general.
Yep.
Shipped in the third quarter.
Yep, so they had 3 months. How many bikes do you think they shipped in 3 months?
Oh, just in 3 months?
Well, it's a quarter, yeah.
What about 3,000?
How about 50?
50,000?
No, 50.
Oh.
50 Livewires, 50, as in half of 100.
Well, they even ship those unless they're like being pre-ordered. Those aren't not even necessarily sold.
Correct.
Woof. That's like, what, 1 per state?
Their calculated net loss for the third quarter was $14.6 million. However, silver lining here, that's actually an improvement compared to the same period last year. They had an estimated loss of $20.9 million.
20.9. Now,
so
are they even trying? Have you ever seen an ad? If anyone has ever seen an ad, I've gotten
ads on like the internet
of Livewire.
Yeah,
screenshot me one.
Okay,
I want to see what their marketing department's up to.
Well, so I've been following Adventures on Zero, who we mentioned a few episodes back, because he made his own like long way up replica. Mm-hmm. He posted a video on Instagram. He went into a Harley dealer who is also a Livewire dealer. I want to say it was Patriot Harley Davidson. I may be wrong. No one quote me on that.
No fact check.
And he's like, anytime I walk into a Harley dealer that has Livewires, I always go over to check them and look at the state of charge. And it's just like these 3 bikes in the corner, neglected.
Dead.
The one had like 3% battery. He's like, how's anyone going to test ride this bike? Also, if you're not going to ride it, the state of charge is supposed to be between X% and X% if you're not going to ride it for 90 days.
Oh, to like keep it like a lithium battery or whatever. Like
yeah,
just keep
exactly.
it at like 50%.
Yeah, it wants to be at its happy place somewhere in the middle. So, yeah, I don't know. I think whenever they spun it off and it no longer had the bar and shields on it, the dealer network kind of gave up on it. And unless the Del Mar really gets people excited, they're doing better. They have less losses this quarter, but you can decrease loss a bunch of different ways. It doesn't necessarily mean they sold more bikes. They may have just spent less money.
Production.
Yeah.
And you don't
cut
waste
production,
as much.
Cut positions. Yeah.
So I had to go through and do the Google on that other bike, the Static Stacyc.
Oh,
When
yeah.
did I say that?
I don't know.
Any idea? It's Stacyc. So, did you know what that was before looking it up?
Yeah.
Stacyc? Maybe?
Yeah, it's like kid kick bikes, balance bikes.
But they're electronic.
Yeah.
And did you know Harley bought them?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I didn't.
Yeah.
Because I was like, well, it was weird because these stats are all like electric motorcycles. Here's a bunch of stats up and down for the quarter or the year or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it has a Stacyc or whatever. I'm slaughtering it. And in
what
comparison.
Is it? Stacyc? Yeah, I guess. Stacyc?
The capitalization is kind of weird. I guess it's all caps. So it apparently stands for something, which, can we stop doing that?
I bet you it doesn't stand for anything.
Can we stop naming things with acronyms? Every marketing department ever would appreciate that. But yeah, so I guess their concept was the idea of like, the younger you start kids on two-wheeled vehicles, the sooner they will be comfortable buying a Harley. So Harley bought them.
And that all stems back to Matt Levitich, the previous CEO's More Roads to Harley Davidson plan. He's like, we're going to give people as many ways into our business as possible.
Because this was
We're going
in
to expand to different motorcycle segments. We're going to expand to different... It was when?
2019.
Yes. He stepped down in 2020.
You look like you're going to sneeze.
No.
Okay.
No, I'm good.
Yeah, I didn't know. And honestly, like looking at them on the website and stuff, you can't really tell. I didn't know they were only small. Like, I knew to an extent there wasn't pedals on them, but I assumed that the bigger ones
They
were...
also have full-size electric bicycles.
Okay, that's what I kind of thought they
Serial 1.
were.
Yeah.
Serial?
Yeah, they're under Harley, not under Stasic or whatever. But they're known as Serial 1, meaning like it's a callback to serial number 1 Harley Davidson, which was a motorized bicycle essentially back then. Yeah.
Yeah, so good luck, guys.
So, yeah, turn something around. Maybe bring that Bronx out everyone keeps asking for, that we all have been missing for a while. Triumph Tiger's got some updates coming. Bump and power, almost 13 horsepower increase. Getting a new 7-inch TFT display. Depending on where I read, it kind of depends on which trim level. They're adding different safety features. They're just adding more. One of the things they're doing is adding more marker lights, and they're going to activate hazards on heavy braking, which a lot of cars do now. So kind of, I don't know, more easy common sense things that we should be bringing over from 4-wheeled vehicles to 2-wheeled vehicles.
Wait, it doesn't have brake lights?
It does have brake lights.
Oh.
If you brake heavily, suddenly, it activates the hazards. So the people behind you...
Cars do that?
Yeah.
Whose car?
Well, yours doesn't activate hazards, but yours has a whole flashing pattern that activates if your brake force goes over a certain amount.
Well, I've never seen it. I'm always with that car.
You are. Yeah, a lot of German cars have either some type of brake force indicator or hazard activation. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool.
Yep. CF Moto is teasing 4 different concepts that they're going to show off at EICMA. So next week, we will have at least the first bits kind of coming out of EICMA that we'll cover. They are going to be releasing showing off. They have a concept that they're naming Lowride, which appears to be some type of cruiser. 125 NK. It's a 125 naked. Their MTX concept, which is some type of adventure bike. And then the 4th one, I think, was a scooter. I forgot to put it in the notes.
MT Series 800 MT.
Yeah.
What's MT mean? Any idea? 450 MT.
No. Hold on.
Am I taking things out of information out of context? I guess I could hit the play button
to
see what it is.
You don't need to hit the play button. I'm just going to scroll back.
I like the images and stuff they've created for these. They're
CLX Spirit. My bad.
Okay,
not the scooter. CLX Spirit is like a scrambler. So we're going to have a scrambler and adventure, a 125 naked, and some type of cruiser.
This video is wild. Horribly cropped. They set a bale of hay on fire with their burnout.
Yeah, the MTX concept, people are assuming is going to be some 450 adventure bike. Their nomenclature, MT, is basically their adventure bikes.
Oh.
So we've got 4 concepts from them coming at EICMA. They also, during CF Moto Day in China, just showed off a couple really cool bikes and a scooter. Scooter was also cool, but not nearly as cool as the 2 bikes they showed off. So the first one was the 675 SR. The SR bikes are their kind of full-blown sport bikes, so full-fared. It has a triple, and the triple has been derived from their 450 twin. So they literally took their 450 twin and just cloned the cylinder.
Copy, paste.
Yeah. So around 50 foot-pounds of torque, it looks like it's going to be You can kind of see some of the styling in the pictures. Nothing super crazy. I mean, just general sport bike design.
Yeah, all the pictures have wraps on them.
Yeah. I think it'll be a value play, which most of their bikes are. So delivering more for less at like a certain class. So 675 triples. You're going to be like against some of the Triumph triples. Yamaha MT-07 kind of stuff. The other bike that I'm a little more excited about is the 500 SR, which is an inline 4 500. So again, still a sport bike, but now we're going to have another small displacement inline 4 again, which we used to have a bunch of these. Honda, in fact, used to make a bunch of these, and they've all kind of disappeared over the years. Kawasaki brought back a 250 inline 4, did not come to the US. The 400 inline 4 did. So if this makes its way to the US, we'll have two inline 4s at, in that 400 to 500 cc range. We'll see how high it revs.
So CF Moto is a US based company.
No.
Oh well, I just Google. Maybe they have a US based office.
CF Moto
Plymouth, Minnesota.
USA is based in the US. But it is the US arm, yes, of CF Moto, who is Chinese.
I've never really. I feel like maybe we mentioned it prior at one point, but seeing, I'm like, I can't put a logo with that.
Yeah, well, you were going to get more familiar with it here in a second. So half the reason they popped up on my radar was Sleepy on Cleveland Moto had mentioned he saw some of these pop up really cheap, specifically the 650 Adventura.
Oh boy, this is one's already out.
Yep, I showed it to you. I asked a passenger rating.
Oh, is that what you had me look at?
One of them. We disagreed on how wide the passenger portion was. But these 650 Adventuras, the original MSRP was in the like 6,000-ish range. Most everyone who looks at it is like, this looks like a lot like a Kawasaki Versus 650 engine. Like, maybe someone should consider a lawsuit close.
Wow.
What?
I said, wow.
Yeah.
That's serious stuff. I like the saddlebags.
Which comes standard.
That's nice.
And they're made by Shad, who's a big luggage manufacturer.
Definite perk.
It has a TFT display by default. It has 2 ride modes. It has an adjustable windshield.
Oh.
650 twin, slightly more road oriented in the adventure bike world. Dual 17-inch wheels. But they're being listed by a decent amount of dealers right now, and they're like 2022 leftovers. But they're being listed at $3,999, occasionally $3,995.
That's only 4 Motocompactos.
That is only 4 Motocompactos. And it sounded like he had reached out to a couple dealers who said they were going to be like 43, 4 and some change-ish out the door. So, sales tax tag title.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
That's almost the same price as a MacBook Pro.
Yeah. Yeah, just an intriguing bike. I've looked into them a little bit. There were some complaints about heat.
Like it's creating too much?
Well, kind of the way they channel it. But the complaints are like, the heat's in front of me. I can like feel it coming up through the like dash area and into my face. And I'm like, that sounds wonderful in January. I would love my bike to keep me warm.
That's true. I'm looking to see where even the local dealers are to us. There's actually a decent amount. We're like in the middle of definitely 3.
So there's one in Fremont that has a bunch of them listed for about 4,000.
A bunch. Well, Harding's down in Canton is listed as a dealer. I'm not.
Yeah, I think they still want like 6,000 something.
Johnny K's.
Yeah.
Burbank, and then there's a Cleveland Johnny K's.
Yeah.
So
look,
there's a lot of those. Johnny K's
west
a popular
of that.
guy.
Go slightly towards Toledo.
Yeah, I mean, I see there's one there in Fremont.
Yeah.
The Sheets.
Yeah. Whatever it's pronounced.
Sheet.
You want to spell it?
SCHIET.
Yeah.
Shite. That's a fun name. Good for them.
Yeah. But yeah, if you're looking for a new bike under $5,000, I don't know. I'd take a look at it. I've been taking a look at it.
At the end of the year, everyone will have everything discounted to get rid of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, one of the best ways to buy a new bike is a dealer, leftover stock. That's how I got the Vulcan. That was had just turned like 2 model years old. It's a great way to buy a new bike, though.
Yeah.
Because
it's a little dusty.
Well, and the dealer's already taken part of the depreciation hit.
At that point, they're just desperate to get like base cost for them.
Yeah, they just want to not lose money on it.
There.
Yeah. So if you're looking at these, they're a year-ish old. And I think half of it is they're looking at bringing out a 700, most likely. The 650 has only been in the U.S. for a few years, but it's been in other countries for a while. A lot of the content you'll find on these will be out of Europe, Australia. And they seem to like the bike. I found one guy who was reviewing it. I forget. I converted the kilometers to miles. Bike had like, I want to say 12,000-ish on it over a couple years.
Miles.
Yeah. So not crazy miles. It's not like he's like, oh, this is a 100,000-mile bike, but $4,000 bike that you get 12,000 problem-free miles out of still seems like a pretty decent deal.
What's this? Papio? That's cute.
Oh, it's like a little Grom thing they make.
Yeah. I think it's got like 2 headlights. This one like rider seat.
Papio, the Papio Racer, or the Papio SR?
There's an SS that's kind of cool.
Yeah, the SS is the racer.
It looks kind of like a really cool toy. Look at the seat on that bad boy.
Yeah, the Papio SS is like a mini cafe racer retro sport bike looking thing, which is pretty wild.
Yeah, I'm here for it.
They just, I think it's the SR, which is like a scrambler one they just showed off a while ago. I have mixed feelings on this, though, because I think like most people, in our day-to-day, we try and rectify kind of quick, low-cost Chinese goods with like supporting not destroying manufacturing elsewhere in the world. Because the Chinese are really good at putting out low-cost goods.
Stuff that's good enough.
Well, and that's the question. If it's good enough, it's one thing. Yeah. The problem is sometimes it's cheaper, but it's not good enough, and you find that out later. And
it's too late, though.
Yeah, that's where the whole phrase, is it cry once, buy once kind of deal? Where it's just like,
that sounds accurate.
Pay the money for the correct thing instead of trying to save money and buying it like 2 or 3 times because you didn't just spend the money you should have up front.
Yeah.
So buy once, cry once. That's the order. Yeah. So
I cry all the time.
But standard saddlebags, it's an adjustable windshield. It looks like a fantastic commuter bike at a minimum. That's what intrigues me about it. And then they also offer like engine guard that you can get that kind of kicks out. It's a little more than just engine guard, kind of fairing exo cage on the front end, and some hand guards for it. But I think with the amount of wind coverage it appears to give, you throw some hand guards on there, maybe heated grips. It looks like a real season extender potentially.
New category.
Especially if people are complaining about heat.
Gimme the heat.
That is the best thing to have in the quote unquote off season up here.
I have a high heat tolerance. Just don't let me catch on fire.
Whenever I started reading reviews that were complaining about heat, my first thought was winter. And then I thought back to my first motorcycle that I rode regularly, street bike, was a 81 Honda CB650. And I had my motorcycle temps, but I did not have my car license. So it was my primary mode of transport for like 2 years. I remember riding in the winter and my hands would get so cold. It was an air-cooled inline 4. I would literally just take my hands and lay them on top of the cylinder heads, like
Ooh.
underneath the gas tank until my glove got hot enough that I couldn't stand it. And then I'd switch hands.
Oh, God.
Except the throttle hand you could only do for so long because you had to be like flat or downhill, and you like clutch in, throttle hand on engine, warm it up, back on the grip.
Sheesh.
Well, that was kind of the big headlines I wanted to hit. I want to do what I've been promising. This is going to at some point turn into a much larger blog post because I think in the visual form, it almost will make a little more sense than the spoken word.
Always.
But I'm kind of referring to this as the history of electric motorcycles so far, but only the parts I care about.
That's all that matters to us anyways.
Yeah. So we're going to start a little bit of the real origins. The part that was fun for me to find out was one of the first patents granted for anything electric. Yeah. The origins of electric motorcycles lie in electric bicycles, just like the origins of motorcycles themselves lie in bicycles.
Yeah.
So one of the first patents granted that in relation to electric motors or bicycles was to a gentleman, Ogden Bolton Jr. from Canton, Ohio, right down the road.
Ogden, way to go, buddy.
Yeah. Back in 1895.
I'll high five your grandchildren for you.
Yeah. I looked at the patent. It essentially was for a hub motor, which is what a lot of electric bicycles use nowadays. He'd probably be very rich if his patent did not expire in 1912.
Oh. Talk about hindsight.
Yeah. There was some poking around. People tried trikes and all kinds of crazy stuff. The next kind of big development in the States, marching towards commercialization of electric motorcycles, Merle Williams, during the fuel rations around World War II, had developed an electric motorcycle that towed a single-wheeled trailer. And that was his way to deal with the fuel rations.
That seems wild. A single-wheeled trailer.
Yeah.
It's like a motorcycle pulling a unicycle.
Yeah, I mean, they make them for bicycles, right? Where it's like attached to the back of the bicycle. There's one wheel out back, and in between it, there's the trailer platform that carried the load. It just follows the bike.
Okay.
So there was enough interest, people seeing him ride this, that he started making them and selling them out of his garage and ended up forming a company that eventually became kind of big and sold off to someone and is gone now. So, mid 40s-ish there. This was kind of a footnote I came across. I wouldn't call this a big development. The history of Indian Motorcycle Company deserves a lot of time on its own and the weird twists and turns that company went through. But during Floyd Clymer's ownership of that trademark, he had ordered the production of a prototype electric motorcycle called the Papoose.
Ooh, please tell me there's a pocket.
So, did you click on the link?
No, I don't think I have a link.
You do. Should be in there.
Okay.
Not in the episode notes. There's a separate note for it.
Oh, you hit it.
Well, I didn't want to mess up the episode notes. But so the Papoose is not a very large motorcycle. It's kind of like
see this.
An electric mini bike.
This whole story is going to get so much better now that I have a picture to go off of. If it ever loads.
Yeah.
It
might take a while. Well, it's like, again.
What is this, MySpace?
All these companies are like dead in return. So
okay,
it's loading
why
through
does
Web
this
Archive.
Look like Motocompacto.
It kind of does, doesn't it? Right?
Yeah, it's got the square seat. It's got like square bottom.
Yeah, they took
baby
like a
wheels,
60s mini bike.
But it has like a Huffy, like the old school like handlebars. Like it reminds me of like an old Huffy bike from the 90s.
Yeah, kind of
Not
mini
a motorcycle.
ape-hanger BMX
Is
style
it as small
handlebars.
as it looks?
As far as I've been able to tell, yes.
Goofy.
Yeah.
Oh, I only get the one picture.
Yeah, just a single picture that I found of it.
For MySpace or something.
Well, found on Cycletown USA, which doesn't exist. So it's through a web, the Wayback Machine at archive.org's collection of that website. That any picture seems to still exist of the papoose. So then that was 67. In 74, Mike Corbin, if Corbin as in like Corbin seats, at least I'm pretty sure. I guess I should have double checked that, but I'm pretty sure Mike Corbin's tied to the company who makes Corbin seats. Sets the electric motorcycle land speed record of 165.387 miles an hour aboard a bike named Quicksilver, which used a 24-volt electric starter motor out of a Douglas Skyhawk fighter jet.
Jesus. Did he survive that? Like,
He did.
that's faster than I would ever want to go on a motorcycle, and I'm here for the 0.387 miles per hour.
He did.
Jesus.
So
His mother probably had a heart attack. I bet you she didn't survive it, though.
after that, more people, kind of small production, people trying, most of the bikes kind of produced from then. People were toying with production bikes that were in the 25 to maybe 45 mile an hour range, some more land speed record attempts. We get to the next point, again, I care about, the year 2000.
So we jumped 26 years.
Like I said, stuff happened. Blah, 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 blah.
Not important. We've got
Year 2000.
the Charlie Brown teacher for those 26 years. Wah, 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 wah.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
So, 2000, Kilocycle manages a 9.45 second quarter mile.
Is that a brand?
So this was a team / probably technically a company that focused on drag racing electric motorcycles, ones they built. So they did a 9.45 quarter mile, trap speed of 152.07.
So 26 years later, 13 miles per hour slower.
But they did it over a quarter mile. And land speed records are normally done at flying miles.
Oh.
So in 74, he did 165 over a mile. And they managed to hit 152 and a quarter mile.
Okay, seems less impressive, but I might not be processing it correctly.
Yeah, if you saw it side by side, you'd understand.
Okay. I believe you.
Lead acid batteries, which was kind of the bleeding edge tech we had at the time. It was a 312 volt system. They had a 1400 amp controller, if people are aware of electric numbers. Oh, let's see. Put this in perspective. Your typical household electric panel, your breaker box. Older ones are going to be around 100 amps. Most modern ones are going to be somewhere around 150 to 200 amps.
Oh my goodness, this was
This is pulling
1400.
1400 amps.
Sounds like someone could get electrocuted real quick.
Yeah. So, lithium ion batteries started coming around. The team switched to lithium ion nanophosphate batteries in 2007. They managed to run a 7.824 second quarter mile at 168 miles an hour. So now faster than the 74 land speed record.
We've caught up to 1974.
Not caught up. Blowing it out of the water. We're doing more than that speed in a fourth of the distance.
Get him.
From a stop, right? This bike specifically was my first exposure to electric motorcycles. I remember seeing videos of this bike run, and there was another bike.
What bike was it? You don't even have it.
Kilocycle.
Oh, we're still on that one.
Yeah. And I forget if it was Kilocycle or one of the other ones that was kind of adjacent to it. They had a video. They pulled up to do a burnout, to do the drag run. And they had changed some settings or pulling more current. And that bike produced so much torque, it had a beadlock rim on it. And it tore the sidewall out of the tire. Or the sidewall out of the beadlock. It was just crazy power they were putting down.
So apparently they have this bike on display at the Forney Museum, which is in Denver, Colorado.
Yeah. So this is, he said, 2007. We're into lithium-ion battery attempts now. In my mind, this is kind of the late 2000s, kind of the modern inflection point of motorcycles. And I kind of condense it down because there's a bunch of small companies that pop up and do a couple things and disappear. And now in the present, we've got big manufacturers that are starting. But in the States, the four companies that kind of were the big push in my mind, I'm going to come up with a fun name for these. I tossed around the four horsemen of like the internal combustion engine motorcycle apocalypse. Because the four of these...
Sounds a little dark.
Well, the four of them seemed at one point to have so much promise that it was just obvious we were all going to end up on electric motorcycles like tomorrow, right?
That did not happen.
No. No. And part of that is because of these four I'm going to talk about, only one still exists. The other three died in various different fashions.
Rest in peace.
Yeah. So the four companies are Alta, Bramo.
Oh, Bramo is a good name.
Electrocross, which became Zero, and a company called Mission Motors. The one that I don't know. I guess I feel bad for the three that no longer exist. I feel bad for all of them. The one that frustrates me the most, I think, is Bramo.
Frustrates you? You're getting like emotionally invested in this, is what you're saying.
So follow along.
I'm
We're going to go on a journey.
Okay.
So Bramo, the name Bramo Inc., they were incorporated in 2008. That was basically after they got some investors. They had been toying around with licensing the Ariel Atom, doing, eventually, they were looking at doing an electric version of it, a couple other electric-powered cars. But by 2009, they had released the Inertia, which was their first electric motorcycle. Now, this thing wasn't like earth-shattering. Speeds around 65-ish, not real long ranges. The fun part about the Inertia, though, was it was one of their sales channels was Best Buy.
Best Buy?
Yeah.
What?
So this was like a street legal electric motorcycle. They initially rolled out on the at the West Coast Best Buy locations. And then eventually we're going to get through the whole US. And one of the little footnotes of the sales deal was that basic repairs, now while Bramo had like a service center network, basic repairs could be handled by the Geek Squad.
Yikes.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I trust them to repair my computer.
So 2010 rolls around. Bramo announces the most important bike in my mind to them, and arguably to them probably the most important bike, which was the Impulse. So it was announced in 2010. Original delivery date was targeted around 2011, I believe. Ended up getting pushed back. Part of that was because they made some changes to the design. They ended up deciding on including a 6-speed gearbox. That's part of why this bike is so intriguing to me. Kawasaki has mentioned this, and when they've discussed electric motorcycles, and in the upcoming Ninja 7 is maintaining changeable gears, although no clutch. Mm-hmm. So this bike had 6 gears, an actual clutch, real world range around 75 miles at like highway-ish speeds, top speed of around 105 miles an hour.
And what year was this?
2010.
So I feel like we haven't gotten anywhere in the last 15 years.
Yeah, we haven't made it significantly further. We've made it a little further, but not significantly
tapped
further.
the moon a few times, but we haven't quite figured out electric motorcycles.
Yeah, so the issue is energy density in the batteries and the amount of space you have on the bike, right? Cars work better because, like, if you look at most EVs, it's basically 4 wheels. All the space between those 4 wheels is full of batteries. And then you build a car on top of it, right? On a motorcycle, the only place you can put batteries is where the engine kind of used to be, / where the fuel tank used to be. There's just not as much real estate.
Oh, it comes with a free backpack.
Wait, the Impulse? Or just, you're just
any
saying,
of them,
yeah,
so that way you have
some
somewhere to put more battery space.
Yeah. So it intrigues me because I love the idea of still having gears and a clutch. And if I remember correctly, neutral, I believe, was between second and third, because third was kind of your do everything gear. And the amount of torque, it was rare that you needed first. And they kind of set it up so if you wanted the gears, they were there. If you wanted the clutch, it was there. But you could also just put it in gear and never use the clutch and never shift the gears.
So maybe I could ride it.
Yeah, well, I think 2 things. One, it let you kind of have a choose your own adventure experience, right? Mm-hmm. So if you wanted to ride it like a scooter, twist and go, you could. If you wanted to really get after it, get the gear changing experience, you had it there. But it all arguably was probably also an excellent teaching aid, because you could teach someone how to use a clutch and they didn't have to worry about stalling it.
What a magical world to live in.
Right? This is where it kind of turns, though. So they have the Impulse. They work on a few different motocross style bikes. They come up with the Impulse R, basically an evolution of the original Impulse. 2015 Polaris rolls in and purchases the entire electric motorcycle business from Bramo. By the end of 2015, the Impulse is now a Victory. Do you remember the Victory brand?
I do. I think.
Yep. So Polaris had started Victory.
I thought it was Triumph. Do they have a Victory? Am I making that up?
Yeah.
I can picture an emblem in my head.
Yeah, and it was like a V. So Polaris had started Victory to do V-twin cruisers and kind of go after Harley Davidson. Now, Polaris would eventually buy the Indian nameplate when it came available, start up Indian Motorcycle, and end up killing off Victory.
Rest in peace, Victory.
So whenever they bought Bramo, come out with the Impulse, and then 2 years later decide to kill Victory, they kind of killed Bramo with it, because they haven't really done anything in the motorcycle world with that electric motorcycle technology since. The remains of the company, the non-motorcycle side, were sold to Cummins in 2017 because they had some battery. Mm-hmm. Cummins does more than just diesels, but they bought some of the battery tech that they had, and I think some of the motor development stuff they had. But yeah, it's a bummer twofold, because Polaris, one, killed Victory, but then Bramo kind of is this bystander caught in the crossfire of that deal. So that's the short version of Bramo. Alongside it, we've got the other three companies going. So Harley is connected to 2 of the 3 victims.
Victims.
Yeah. So
Victory victims.
So Harley's connected to Mission Motors, because Harley, I forgot how long ago they started with those Livewire prototypes. So Harley showed off their first prototypes of the Livewire in the US all the way back in 2014, which feels like forever ago.
Where were you in 2014?
I had just taken a job with Apple.
I was 2 years out of college.
Yeah. We were in Canal Fulton.
It's true.
And just got the second of our dogs.
A hamster at the time.
Mm-hmm. But so Harley was working on the Livewire prototype. They went to Mission Motors. Mission, they'd originally started with like kind of the focus of electric motorcycles, but they kind of evolved into more of an electric, like component supplier for EVs kind of across the spectrum. So the battery unit for the Livewire came from Mission. They also helped Harley develop the motor that was in it. They
Did you lose your train of thought?
yeah, I'm trying to remember. There was something else I want to mention about them, but so they worked on a couple of these like offshoots. I forget what happened, why they closed down exactly, but they ended up closing shop in 2015. Their IP was purchased by Damon Motorcycles in 2020, so a portion of that company will live on, but their kind of last in the modern electric motorcycle world claim to fame was having their hand in the Livewire.
Hopefully, the Livewire lives on to give a little bit of a testament.
Yeah.
I mean, fingers crossed. It holds on. It had so much potential. Maybe someone will swoop in and save it.
Yeah.
I wonder what they would sell it for if someone wanted to buy it.
What?
Livewire?
The company?
Yeah.
Well, whatever the stock price is currently. I think Harley owns 70% of it still.
I wonder if they'd like give it to someone who could actually do something with it, or if it's like at this point would be too far removed.
Yeah. I don't see Harley stepping out of that unless it becomes so valuable that it makes sense to get rid of it, but I don't even know if that scenario exists.
I guess if it wasn't a Harley, then some of that would just die off, some of that excitement, you know. I feel like it had potential because it was a Harley.
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree. So while Harley was working to bring the Livewire to market, they also invested in a company by the name of Alta Motors. So if you're not familiar with Alta Motors,
ALTA.
Yeah. The easiest way to understand who they are is if you go look at the Stark Varg, VARG, which is kind of...
Oh, that's an expensive bike.
Yeah, it is one of the most competitive electric motocross bikes available right now. It's competed, I believe, if I remember correctly. I think it has also competed in the Red Bull Straight Rhythm.
It's cool looking. You know what it reminds me of? This is going to sound really dumb.
Okay.
And you may not even know what I'm talking about.
Lay it on me.
Anyone knows what a cedar waxwing bird
Oh, I have no idea.
looks like? It's like if this motorcycle was a bird. You look it up and you're going to see it. If you're looking at the same color scheme as me. The gray and black one.
Waxwing.
This is how far removed I am from the motorcycle world. I'm just trying to like diversify the conversation a little bit. Do you see it?
Okay, and we're looking at which Stark Varg?
Knock it in the mic. This one. Do you see it?
I vaguely understand what you're saying. Yes, I am following.
Thank you for playing along because I needed that.
But so Alta Motors basically was what Stark is now a decade ago. And they had all kinds of crazy motocross bikes that they were working on. Harley comes in, invests in them. And then I think it was like within a year, basically ends their investment with them. Alta kind of scrambles and then collapses within the next 2 years. So in a period of less than 5 years, we'll call it.
I like that you
Harley's
said collapses like an empire.
I mean, they were kind of on track for that. They were just killing it with their, what they were putting out in their bikes was very impressive. So Harley's involved in a span of less than 4 years with 2 companies who end up meeting their demise. So the last, that covers all of the victims. The last surviving member of the original 4 is Zero. So Zero, through all this, they originally started as a company called Electrocross, as an electric motocross.
Yeah, not a very creative name, but I'm here for it.
Not an acronym.
Don't leave people guessing. Oh, thank God.
They make an electric motocross bike called the Drift. Not bad. Fairly impressive for the time. This was 2006, if I believe, or forgot to put that in my notes. Shame on me. 140-pound bike. Top speed of around 44 miles an hour. It was about $5,500 to buy one. Yes, that would have been 2006, because in 2007, they renamed themselves to Zero, as in zero emissions.
Oh,
right?
I wondered what that was from.
Yep, that Zero Motorcycles is in zero emissions. They begin shipping the S, which was kind of their first road-going model, in volume in 2010. 2012, they introduced a new battery pack, became the first production electric motorcycle with an EPA estimated range over 100 miles. I believe it was 113-ish. They underwent a complete redesign in 2013. Another kind of new battery pack structure, different motors. They went from a brushed motor design to a brushless.
Does that mean you can ride it on the sand?
I mean, if you don't get sunk in the sand. And that kind of, they've had some more changes over time, but I think all in all, part of the reason I believe Zero survived was they kind of were the slow burn. The other 3 kind of came out the gate swinging. Zero was shipping the S in volume in 2010, and Bramo had the Impulse. But the Impulse was doing crazy stuff, like the gearbox and the clutch. And they found their exit by 2015 by selling to Polaris.
So, in the next couple of years, what do you think it's going to look like?
I think Zero's still going to be around.
They seem like the most stable.
Yes. That's why I said they were kind of the slow burn, right? They may not be the brightest light. They're the longest lasting light, right? I sincerely hope, because I think did we talk about it today?
What?
News, yeah, you were showing it to me last night, I think. EV sales are down. Production, they're starting to cut. They're backing up at dealer lots.
Oh, yeah,
and stuff.
I sent you a thing on Instagram.
Yeah. So we're starting to see EV four-wheeled vehicle sales drop. Now, part of that, I'm sure, is just the current state of the world and people not wanting to spend money at crazy interest rates, and EVs are more expensive. So I'm sure it's going to have some effect on electric motorcycles as well. I don't think at this point Zero is going to collapse overnight.
Collapse?
Well, yeah. I just mean, I don't think they're going to meet a demise like Alto, where they're just like tomorrow, like, we need investment now.
Although
We're shutting the doors.
You say it like overnight, like you expect it to happen. It's just not going to happen.
No, I said I don't think it's going to happen. I don't see Zero going away. Most companies eventually end. I'm just saying I don't think they're disappearing anytime soon. Their DSR X is an interesting bike. I hope to ride one of them at some point. But ultimately, electric motorcycles are kind of I don't want to say weird, but like don't fit the normal qualities of a motorcycle.
It's not the same culture.
Well, less the culture, and it's like, okay, so you make it an electric adventure bike. Typical adventure bike. I'm going to hop on this bike. I'm going to go ride into the middle of nowhere. Several hundred miles.
Can't do that without a solar powered charger.
Well, and that's the problem. It's like you could take solar panels. It'd take forever to charge it back up, right?
Yeah.
So the infrastructure is like half of it. The other half is just the energy density. When we talked about the hybrid, Kawasaki hybrid last week, and I mentioned the range extended electric vehicles. And then the funny part was I had mentioned Noco had another 4-hour episode. I hadn't listened to it yet. And they talked about the same exact thing. And the funny part is I'd sent them an email before listening to that episode.
Sharing show notes.
Yeah, apparently subliminally we're on the same wavelength with Swiggy was talking about it. He sees it as an electric or a diesel electric. I don't think it has to be diesel. I understand for efficiency reasons for it to be diesel, but having some type of gas range extender, at least in my mind, is where we're going to get electric motorcycles to make sense for the typical use case of like going cruising, right? Like I want to go do a couple 100 miles, 400 miles, 500 miles. I want to do an iron butt.
If you want to go and like mindlessly ride
Yeah.
for long periods of time.
Yeah, because like you can't go do an iron butt on an electric bike right now without serious modification to reduce the charge time.
Swap out bikes every stop.
Oh yeah, or
Batteries.
well, no one really has swappable batteries yet either.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is crazy to me.
If we got to a swappable battery standard, you'd need a ton of batteries, but it would at least be arguably possible. That's an interesting thought. Zero has that, but only on their like FX and I think FXE, which are like dirt bike-y models.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if anyone's approached them with that idea, because you'd need some serious support to have enough battery packs. But they could be like the first factory electric bike to do a Saddle Sore 1000 or the Bun Burner 1500.
And then they can make a show out of it and put it on Netflix.
Yeah.
What an
There you
idea.
go. Yeah. That's funny. I don't know that I've thought about that. But yeah, that's really the only way you're going to be able to do that
for,
kind
obviously, the ideas.
of. Yeah.
I'm such a deep thinker.
It's really the only way you're going to get an electric bike to do that kind of mileage in that amount of time is remove the charging from being a factor. You've got to make the battery swappable.
It's all about efficiency.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't see Zero going anywhere. I'm intrigued by their bikes. The problem is the energy density, which affects the range. If the ranges were double, people would be much more open to them. I see where they slot into my life. The price point just doesn't line up with where they would slot in.
Yeah.
So they've either got to stay the same and get cheaper, or they've got to get more range. And the easiest way for them to increase the range right now, in my mind, would be to figure out some type of range extender, meaning internal combustion coupled with an electric bike. So then when you want to do your long stuff, you can. And when you're just zipping around the corner, you're just on battery. So
I don't know that I want to be just on battery.
well, I'm saying you could run it just on electric. And then when you run out of electric, you'd kick the engine on.
Oh.
And away you go.
Yep. All about a backup plan.
Yep. Well, that is the very short version of, what did I call it? I'll have to listen back to it. The history of electric motorcycles so far, the parts I care about.
Which, I mean, that's really all that matters. You know, really to anyone, hopefully.
Yeah. Did you learn something?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not asking you what. This isn't a quiz. I'm just saying I hope
I'm kind of
someone's taking
surprised that they
value from this.
originated a bajillion years ago, over 100 years ago. I mean,
Yeah.
but honestly, like, to an extent, they had probably used electricity more than any other fuel source. Well, I mean, they never really had like propane and stuff.
We had electric cars back then too.
And then they went away.
Jay Leno's got one that's a literal horseless carriage. Like it's a horse carriage that has batteries and electric motors in it. And it doesn't have a steering wheel because we hadn't thought of that concept yet. So it just has like a lever.
Go straight.
Well, no, there's like a lever that you like push and pull.
Like a paddle boat.
Yeah, it's like the rudder on a boat. It's kind of hilarious.
That is funny.
But yeah, so we're kind of coming full circle, coming back to electric vehicles.
It's crazy that you think like electric is like this new idea, but in the grand scheme of things, it's like, no, they actually tried it before and it just didn't survive the competition of a combustion engine or whatever it was. Obviously, people just it didn't excel quick enough, but it's crazy to think that it totally could have, though, if they would have invested in it in the same way.
Yeah.
And also, like, back then, they probably weren't worried about anything with the environment and the ozone and that sort of thing. I mean,
yeah.
But that was only just over 100 years ago, so it's crazy to think about, like, where we'll be in 100 years.
Yeah. Well, you got anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Well, I think we're going to call that an episode. If you have...
A Motocompacto.
A Motocompacto? What?
I don't know. I just feel like people should tell us if they have one.
Oh, yes. If you have a Motocompacto, reach out to us. If you have anything to add, anything you feel is vitally important to the history of electric motorcycles so far, shoot me an email. Podcast@motohop.co.
Or a message on Instagram.
Yep. Shoot me a message on Instagram.
Emails feel so formal and like such a grand gesture. It's like, just shoot me an emoji real quick.
Shoot me an emoji. I want to try and decipher hieroglyphs to understand what you mean. Only emojis, please.
Please FaceTime us and just act it out.
Yeah, we're going to do charades. But yeah, because I'm going to compile this into a more proper blog post at some point. Everything I got so far will be in show notes. But yeah, I think that's an episode.
Bye.
See ya.